Hey, what's up guys? So I was watching a video from Damien Mathers. If you haven't heard of him, he's a good 3D YouTuber. Go ahead, check him out. Links in the description. And he was comparing Octane versus Cycles, you know, the render engine. And it got me thinking. It was like, I can understand comparing render engines now only for speed. And maybe like a cool bell and whistle, but not for output and color. Now I know what you're thinking. Clearly, this engine looks different than this engine right out the gate. And you're right, they do. But here's why you don't typically compare render engines as in terms of look. If you're doing anything on a professional level, everything gets graded. So if you're just looking at renders straight out of the gate, that doesn't really tell you much of anything. Typically, when a client comes to you, they'll be like, hey, here's this 3D thing. And then you're like, okay, what do you want me to do with it? Well, we have it in this commercial, but we want it to do something different now. Can you take care of it? And you got to say, sure. What did you render it in? What's going on? And if you don't have that software, you're kind of boned on the job. Not really, no. You just say, give me an OBJ file, give me an FBX, give me, you know, the sources that you have. You match up the materials. Typically, I kind of get the color in range. It doesn't have to be a perfect match in the color because the lighting, things change, but I'll get to that. All I do is I match up the glossiness or the roughness, the specular, make sure all my maps, if they come in with a bunch of maps, a displacement map, noise map, make sure everything is in par of what it is that you need to be output, so you don't have anything like a smooth where it should be rough. I then go and I export it, and here's the key, 32 bits. What does 32-bit means? Typically when you're shooting on your phone, you're shooting like 8-bit footage. That means, you know, each image is an 8-bit file, essentially, if you have it on an image. That means you have 0 to 255 or 256 ranges of tonality. So your alpha channel goes 0 to 255. Then you have 10, 12, and 16-bit. 12 and 16-bit are like movie quality. So if you're shooting on an RELF or your Red or anything like that, you're shooting at like 16 bits. So you have 65,000 levels of tonality with it, okay? And that's great. You can do that. And then there's 32-bit, which is this many levels of tonality.
Phenomenal cosmic power!
Which means you can basically change any color and the exposure as long as nothing's clipping. Caution here though, 32-bit heavy format. You should have a reason to do 32-bit. Most of the time, I get away with 16-bit. That's when you click this little half button in Blender, okay? They're huge. They're absolutely huge file sizes, okay? So use them with caution. Normally, you would click this 16-bit, but if you're working for a Fortune 500 company or VFX house or post house, click that 32-bit, and then you can change and match to any render engine that you want. So how do we do this? Well, let's do it with DaVinci Resolve and After Effects for you guys. Let's go into... it depends if you want to do Media Pool Healer or the other one. I like to do it here. It doesn't bother me. So I'm going to import the media. Let's see here. Here's the EXR. Go ahead. We'll open this guy up. And it's 32-bit. So it's going to choke. And what I actually like to do, I do optimize media. I'm also going to, since we're going to color match some of the other stuff, so I'm going to open up the PNG, nope, the Octane PNG. So this is what we're gonna do. And I'm just gonna throw it into the media pool. All right, next thing that we gotta do is we gotta go into Fusion. In Fusion over here, make sure that these say combined because it should be a combined layer matte. If it's not a multi-layer EXR, then it probably won't say that. So you wouldn't have to do anything. In between here, let's add a tool, color. And we want to do a color space, hold shift, drag it in. Now in the color space, we have to browse to our color space. So I'd pop open there. Now I'm already here. You want to go to your Blender Foundation, whatever your Blender numbers are, data file, color management, click on the ICIO file. And we want to do source space is going to be linear. And the output space is going to be filmic sRGB. So there's your cycles filmic right there. Okay. and now hop over into color, and we can get started. Let's import a still. Oh, so this still didn't import. Let's see here. Where are we here? Oh well. Okay. Let's just drag and drop our still in place here. So I'm just gonna drag that right into here. It should drop right in. All right. So with that, we're gonna click this guy. We can get rid of the gallery, and we'll go select it still. Now we have both. So you click the middle one, go to select still. Okay, and you can see the difference. If you look down at my scopes, I typically will have my scopes pulled out and placed here. Oh, I don't think it likes the streaming. 32-bit EXR streaming, it's a little heavy. But I'm not going to do that just because I want you to see. All right, so here is the waveform. And this is the difference between the two of them, all right? But since these are 32-bit files, we can really set this up. So if I come in here, what I want to do is on this first one, let's do exposure. Let's just label it. So I want to get kind of a base exposure. And if we look, there seems to be more gain and a little bit more stuff in here. So I'm going to come to my primaries. If I just push this, you can see that I'm just kind of getting it there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crush it a little bit with the lift, or the offset, I'm sorry. Come on. Yeah, it is choking on these files and recording them. I should get a dual quarter. We're going to have to lift up the shadows. Let me go into logs here. Now they're proper shadows. Log is really good on the primaries to work with on this. So let's just lift this up. If you see this little peak of red here, it goes like that. Another thing that I like to do is let's actually flip this. So you're going to click this little guy and then flip it. All right. Now we can actually match side by side what it's going. So these two should match up. So I'm just going to come down here. Let's just, now if I use too much offset, you'll see it start to crush. Okay, so we don't want to crush it. We want to see how to get there without crushing too much of it. And come back to our logs. The highlights up. A little more. And come down somewhere around there. Okay, so now we're kind of just about at the area we want to be with the exposure. So the next thing we want to do is we want to start breaking this image apart. So I'm going to just hit Alt-A. It's going to make a new serial node. If you don't want to do hotkeys, you can right click and say, add node serial. All right. So this is going to be sky. All right. Let's grab a qualifier. Now, here's something. When you're using 32-bit, the new version of Resolve, and having a mirror, sometimes the qualifier doesn't work. For some reason, it's just, oh, there it goes. If it breaks, you could just use these guys, and sometimes I will just use these guys and not even deal with this eyedropper. I'm gonna hit the magic wand that kind of shows what you got, and we can increase this with just a little bit more. Oh, too much. From there, let's move the center up. Get some more soft in there. Here we go. So we just want to really get the basics of the sky. That's good. Let's denoise it a little bit. And it's okay to grab this stuff. It's a color. It's in the footage. You don't have to worry about it. All right, let's turn off our magic wand. Come back to our image here, and now we want to match the skies up. One thing to say, hue and saturation are going to be your best friend with this. Now, if we watch the color over here, let's go. If I take the saturation up, you can see what happens. See how it starts to split? So it starts to raise certain things. Let's just undo that. And it looks like some of our saturation and our blues need to come up just a little bit. And we'll separate that red and that green right from there. We can raise the highlight. And if we look at the parade from left to right, this line that runs through these, that's your sky. Okay? Your sky does have some reds in it and some blues, so we just can't play with one color. I'm gonna go back to waveform. I kind of like doing it in waveform over here. So it needs to get lifted a little bit. And here's where having a resolve thing, like those balls, work out. I don't have one of them. I wish I did. Let's see here. So that's getting real close. What we could do is I can kind of tell there's a little bit of too much green there. Take it down. Now look at that sky. All right, getting up a little too much stuff, too much green cast. Let's add a little blue. And what you want to do is you want to make that center line disappear as much as you can. Somewhere around there. No, just a little too much magenta. And I mean, we're touching knobs by like 1 here because we are matching. Let's just back it out just a little bit. And basically all I'm doing is I'm jiggling it, and if it goes, so if I go too far one way, then I know I have to go the other way, and then I try to make it land. And that's basically it when it comes to grading this stuff in Resolve. This is why I like using Resolve more than Adobe products. Now, if you're in Nuke or Fusion, you can do this in Nuke or Fusion as well. I totally messed that one up. Somewhere around there. Let's squeeze some of this back. And you know, another thing, if you look, waveform is everything. So you know, you can match this up just by looking at those scopes if you really wanted to. And look at how close we're getting this. Once you can't see the line, you know you kind of get it. There's a little bit too much purple in there. Here's a little trick. Whatever color you have too much of, go in reverse of it. So if I just take this guy, and if I go like this blue, nope, just getting somewhere. I'm not even sure you can see that on YouTube, but I'm just playing just slight touches, slight touches on things. Alright. Well, that's good enough for that. I'm just going to move on. I'm not going to... Just want to show you how to do this. So we're going to qualify this guy. So this is going to be snow. So we'll do the snow. See, I lost my qualifier. Alright, so that's no problem. So I'll show you how to do it without the qualifier. We'll just call this snow. And snow is basically this luma here. We can soften that up. Add that in. Now some of that yellow is coming through, and we're just gonna try and get as much as that as we can out of there. And we can actually minus, but the qualifier button needs to work, which is okay. We can just keep pulling that saturation out. You notice some of the other snow up there is starting to come in, which is nice. Right around there. Okay. And now we match it up again. Same deal. There's also more contrast in here as well. And we can take care of the contrast at the end of the ring. Or the end of the tree, but it's not that bad. Here, let's take the gain. So the whites of this, the whites of this, these are a little too purple. So we're just gonna add some green to that. Somewhere around there. We can actually take the shadow, nope, right up, right about there. Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere. Looks like the shadows are a little bit deeper in here. Now if I turn the shadow down, it's not going to do too much, but what I want to do is I want to boost the color because those shadows are actually blue. And then come back into here. And you can see there's still just a little too much purple in there. And that's probably in the gamma. Yep. Right there. Okay. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go through this. You would do the car, you would do the tires, you would do the brick. And I would actually, because it seems like there's a light or something, or this material is acting a little differently. He didn't match the materials up as in terms of like, you know, adding shine or sheen into the tires. So there's a couple things that I would do. And just a quick capture of what that might look like is if I come into here and let me take this off. So this is one of those unfortunate side effects. So I'm just gonna have to restart. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. Let me close up the gallery and stuff. Now I have my tool. You just have to restart it. And I really think it's because of the way the 3D works. So let's just get some of this guy here. Right about there. And what it's doing is it's inverting. And then once I quit, okay, come on. There we go. So get some real nice softness, and we want to get some outside softness, so we're going to get a good fall off somewhere around there. All right, let's turn this off. Let's come back to our split view. Oh, we got to turn it back on the gallery, make sure that guy's clicked, and still images. All right, so what we have here is, if we look here, this is darker and deeper than that. So all we're going to do is we're just going to probably give it a good contrast boost. Too much. A little bit of a contrast boost. And we're going to look at our waveform, and we notice that the darks are lifted a little bit, the shadows. All right, so here's what it looks like when it's all done. This is definitely passable by anyone. And I mean, you could change anything. If they're like, oh, it still looks a little too yellow, you come into the car layer and do it up. If you look at the waveform, I mean, you just got to nail it. It has to look like a mirror, and that's what happens when you have one color that needs to go the other. Okay, moving on to After Effects. Let's take our EXR file. Now this is a multi-channel EXR file with CryptoMats. Project. Let's go into there. Let's make sure that our footage, color manage sRGB, make sure that's that, only for 32, it's good. Click this guy, make sure we're set to 32-bit float, sRGB for working space. Got to set that up. Let's also get our still in that we want to match to. So here we go. All right, let's move our still in. And this is probably another issue of recording while trying to do 32-bit footage. Any second now. There we go. Okay. So here's our car. Let's actually take our comp. Now our comp is, what is that? Times 2. It's a 4K comp. 7680. All right. So we'll do 7680. So now we got, the width of 2 of these guys. Or did I hit cancels? Nope, it's just updating. Oh, this is gonna be a rough one. There we go. Alright, we'll just put this guy here on the side. And I'm only gonna show you how to do it. I'm not gonna go through it. Now this is black for a reason, because it's an EXR file. So we need to put in extractor. This should come with After Effects now. And we can just say it's combined. Oh, and it looks so hideous again. So now we still have to do the color transform stuff. But After Effects can't take color transform because After Effects is not really a good program, to be honest with you, to do any 3D stuff. But it's good to know because a lot of studios, smaller studios, only have After Effects for you to composite on. So there's a plugin that you got to use, colorio, and here's how you do colorio. All right, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to this website here, linking this in the description, and you're gonna come down and you're gonna click on your Mac or Windows version, and you're gonna follow along. Pretty easy plugin to install. Okay, once you have it installed, you still can't use it yet. So you gotta go to your Blender Foundation color management, just like the area that we used for Resolve. The only issue is that After Effects can't take this config ICO like you can in Resolve. So open that up in Notepad, open up another Notepad, copy and paste everything in, and then this area right here I have in the description. You can just copy and paste this in there, and then I saved it, config for AE. So now I have 2 of these. Now that we have colorio installed, we go to Filmic, and how did I get to Filmic? You go to Custom, and then you go into the exact same place that I just showed you. Click on your file where you installed it, and our input space is linear, our output space is display, Filmic sRGB. So now we're where cycles is, okay? But there's another thing. This is CryptoMat, all right? So now what we want to do is we want to go to our CryptoMat plugin. Tell us where the CryptoMat plugin is. With CryptoMat, you can see that we go to colors and selection, and let's just turn off all of this stuff so you kind of see what the CryptoMat's doing. Oops, I clicked on something by accident. So let's say I want to get the selection or the output of this stuff that's in the CryptoMat. So let's say I want a matte, okay? So what exactly do I want to matte? I can click this and it'll tell me what I have that I can select. So let's go object, okay? So with the object, I go matte only, it's where you click. So click the ground, All right, so now this is the snow. So that's the object of the snow that's in the 3D file. Okay, so let's turn this up. And now what you're gonna do is pretty much the same thing. Hue Saturation Curves, they're all at your disposal. And they're 32-bit. Unlike Photoshop doesn't do curves at 32-bit for some reason. So, you know, you're just gonna come through. And you can even add brightness contrast. Contrast to that. And let me show you one trick on color grading. If we come up to character, I open up a color picker. Now I can use a color picker. Now I can see my hue saturation brightness right on here. So I can see, so this goes towards blue and this doesn't. So this is, ours need to go more towards blue. All right, so that's an easy way to come up here. So I can actually shift my hue more towards the blue, or I can even come into the blues here and add some more blue saturation to that. All right, now it's affecting the whole thing. And so how do we get around that? So I'm actually going to duplicate this. So we'll duplicate. I can get rid of my hue saturation here. Keep this together. Now if we remember, I can actually delete all of these on the top one and just stick with the crypto matte with this matte only. Come down to here, Luma invert. Now I'm only playing with that area. Okay. So that's how you would do it. And then let's say I want to do car. I would duplicate that. I would get rid of the selection. Okay, so now there's no selection. So if I just solo this guy, I click somewhere in here. Nope, I don't want the car. So we'll cut that. Or I'm sorry, I don't want the snow. So we'll just click on the car. If I hold shift, I can actually grab all of these things. Oh, got the car. Well, that would be Control Z. Give it a second. It's really struggling on this computer right now. Sometimes, yeah, there it is. Okay, so you can see how tough it was on the machine. All right, when you're doing that kind of stuff. Stream recording and doing 32-bit crypto mats and After Effects, which is kind of a pile of crap in my opinion. Yeah, that's all right. I hope you like this. Like and sub, do all the things. Definitely play around with grading. Trust me, like if you want to be on a professional level, you're going to grade everything that you can do. You're going to take the foreground, the background, and you know, stick it all together, and you're going to color each individual things, and you're just going to make your stuff look awesome. Okay? Later.